Thank you, Presiding Officer, and I want to begin by congratulating Bill Bowman on his first speech today, welcoming him to Parliament. I welcome this debate on planning. It's a subject that's often regarded as dry and technical, but which, as a number of speakers have already made clear, plays a vital role in allocating and balancing competing demands for land and providing public infrastructure, protecting the environment and mitigating climate change. Indeed, we think the planning bill should incorporate such aims, in particular climate change, as a key purpose of planning. At the third reading of the 1947 Town and Country Planning Act, Lewis Silkin, Attlee's Minister of Town and Country Planning, noted that planning is concerned to secure that our limited land resources are used to the best advantage of the nation as a whole, and it provides for resolving the often conflicting claims upon any particular parcel of land. Much has changed since 1947, but Silkin's observation, I think, remains as valid today as it did 70 years ago. Among the complaints and frustrations of the current planning system is the fact that the original vision of a plan-led system has ended up becoming stressed to the point of failure in many cases by the vested interests of developers. Alex Rowley has already noted the Royal Town Planning Institute's briefing, which makes clear that between 2010 and 2015, 20% of planning posts were lost, and that the budget for planning is now covered substantially by fees. And now, in the welcome move towards better upfront planning, resources need to be allocated from general taxation to provide the skills and the time necessary to provide the high quality environments that will improve the quality of people's lives. An investment that the former Chief Medical Officer, Sir Harry Burns, would frequently stress are critical and which amply repay themselves in improved health outcomes. And nowhere is this more relevant than in the challenge of housing Scotland's population in affordable, warm, sustainable, long-lasting and sustainable homes. The current system of delivery of housing is dysfunctional and unsustainable in the private sector. To create affordable and high-quality housing for all, we need to radically transform how we plan places. And in our view, that starts right at the beginning of the construction process. Put simply, the hegemony of the speculative volume house building industry has failed. It carries too much risk, fails to respond to the challenge of creating high-quality places, and its lobbying power has corrupted the planning process right across Scotland. In our view, it has no future. Greens want a return to public-led development planning process, where communities are in charge, where master planning is detailed and comprehensive, and where those who wish to invest in new development appear at the end of the process. We want to end, for example, the call for sites element of planning, which hands all the initiative to landowners and commercial interests, putting communities on the back foot and obliging them to act defensively. So we welcome the emphasis on upfront planning, on zoning, on local place plans, so long as these give communities a stronger voice and guarantee that they will be full participants. Our amendment, which was not selected today, focuses on two vital reforms that we believe could transform the planning system. The first is to return to the roots of planning in Section 48 of the 1947 Act and allow public authorities to acquire land at its existing use value. That measure was in line with the recommendations of the Uthwalk Committee on Compensation and Betterment that met during the war and led to the 47 Act. Three observations were often made of the Uthwalk Committee's report. There were those who agreed with it, there were those who disagreed with it, and there were those, finally, who had actually read it. The provision was repealed in 1959, but retained for the development of new towns, and we propose its reintroduction. To understand the concept, this was precisely the means by which Edinburgh New Town was constructed. The land was acquired by the Common Good Fund, master planning was undertaken, and developers and individual plots were sold for self-build under contract to the Town Council. Put simply, planning consents increase the value of land 100-fold or more. That value belongs to society as a whole. Today, however, that value is captured by landowners. Ending this windfall would mean houses could be built for 2/3 of current prices, and the balance either invested in higher quality homes and or more homes. The second reform is to the system of appeals. Greens support a right of appeal, a third-party right of appeal, in order to equalise the power relationship in the planning process. Now, consultation on the review noted widespread calls for an equal right of appeal, but the proposal was rejected by the review and by government. I commend Planning Democracy's continuing campaign for a stronger public voice in the planning system. Now, I've been discussing this matter with a wide range of interests over the past few months, and I'm aware of an alternative way forward to equalise appeal rights, and that is simply to abolish the existing right of appeal on behalf of applicants altogether. Indeed, the very existence of any right of appeal is an anachronism hanging over from the 1947 Town and Country Planning Scotland Act. This was recently noted in evidence to the Local Government and Communities Committee meeting on the 7th of September 2016, at which John McNerney, the Chief Planner of the Scottish Government, said, and I quote, "The 1947 situation is essentially that the landowner was no longer free to dispose of his property as he saw fit. He had to seek permission. That is the context of being able to appeal against a decision that he was aggrieved about." End quote. That right was a concession to landowners as a result of their development rights being nationalised. But it will be 70 years this August since that Act came law. There is no longer any principled justification for such an appeal, and many European countries do not operate any such appeal process. And I commend this suggestion to Parliament. To conclude, Presiding Officer, Greens look forward to constructive engagement on this topic in the months ahead. We recognise planning as playing an absolutely critical role in building, developing and sustaining communities across Scotland, and we commend all the motion and the amendments that have been tabled today and will be supporting them. Thank you.
Thank you. I call Alec Cole-Hamilton, to be followed by Gordon MacDonald. Mr Cole-Hamilton.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. And I'd like to start by extending my welcome to Bill Bowman.